record, September 3rd, 2024, at 6:30.
Here,
You're gonna need it.
I got one right here. Sorry.
And I would like to begin the meeting by welcoming everybody who's here and by thanking everybody for a historical moment in the history of our town and for our board tonight, meeting where we, thanks to the town meeting and the people who voted for our project, we are taking a step in the town's new future with the phase one. So I want to thank all members of the board, Public Safety Committee, and everyone who contributed to get the message out, and it was very well received, and I was very impressed by the over 400 people who came to the meeting and the 397 of them who voted in our favor, so that is truly a town mandate, so new day for everybody. Anyone here for open session? Mike?
Very quickly, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to echo a number of your comments, and as an old boss used to say, well begun is half done. Now the real work, I mean, that was a hurdle that had to be cleared, but now there's a ton of work ahead of us. And then also thanks to Select Board Member Young for putting on another great event down on Brigham Pond. Thanks, Kate.
You only say that because you win.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What's that?
You only say that because you win.
I don't always win.
Don't always win, true.
All right, anyone else here for open session? I don't see anyone else. So we'll go to announcements, if you will, Katie.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so in case you haven't, today is voting day for the primaries. You have till 8 o'clock to go over to the Hubbardston Center School gym to vote for the primary election. There are a few people, I think, on the Republican ticket, that's it, that are contested, yeah. So other than that, go vote though. There was only like 290 when I went over there just now, so it was kind of sad. So anyway, coming up next Saturday, the Library 5K on September 7th at 9 a.m. will be starting. They start out at Hubbardston Center School parking lot and they run down Elm Street and come back. And a 5K is, it could be a run, it could be a walk, it could be a crawl, you can skip, they don't care. Just, it's a fundraiser for the library, so if you want to participate, the application or the form, whatever, is on the library website. And you can fill that out. I think it's closing relatively soon, so hurry up if you want to participate. Up next, we have Field Day on September 14th. That is a Saturday following that. It is 9 to 3, and it will be at the rec field. It is sponsored by the Lions, and the Lions usually have a lot of good things going on, music and chicken barbecue and towny stuff and all the good feels and everything else. So go check out Field Day on September 14th, 9 to 3. There's also the townwide yard sale coming up. It is going to be September 28th and 29th from 8 to 3. There is a deadline to get on the map. It is 9/21. You need to email hubbardstonmaparks@gmail.com to get on to the map. The map is free, but it's going to be 2 days, September 28th and 29th from 8 to 3, and the deadline to get on the map is 9/21. All right, and then one last thing was Nonsuch Night. I'm like, I know I have one more thing. October 12th, 4 p.m. at the rec field. That is when we have band. We'll have Neon Alley playing. We'll have some food trucks there, and then like s'mores and stuff like that with the fire. And then we're going to be showing Frozen Empire.
Ghostbusters Frozen.
Yes, I know. Ghostbusters Frozen. It's been a long day. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. We officially have the rights to show it. Yay! That's a battle and a half. And Bill Shea will be up there with the Ecto one, so it'll be a fun night. And hopefully it's not freezing, but we have fire pits, so it's okay. We can at least warm ourselves around the fire pit and watch a movie. It's good stuff. All right, and that is again Nonsuch Night, October 12th, with the rain date the 13th, and that's all I got for right now.
Katie, what's the estimated time you're gonna start the movie? I forget what time it gets
Dusk,
dark.
which is usually around 6:45, 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? Okay. Move to item D. It's Brianna Sunrid.
Yep.
from the Collins Center. She has a presentation for us, so I turn it over to you, or is it gonna go right to her?
Sure. Select Board, thank you for having Brianna here today. I'm uncertain if she can hear us because she hasn't said hi yet, but I've been working with Brianna and some of our staff members for about the last year on, this is going to be our second project. They intersect a little bit, so that's why we have not come forward on the first project. The first was about ways we can create efficiencies by standard operating procedures and technical advancements, and the second is about succession planning through training programs and ensuring that and I hope it does not, if the turnover were to continue, that there's documentation to ensure that people know what to do from almost real shortly after they get here. So with that, Brianna has a plethora of experiences from the town of Amherst, and she's been working on communications with a number of communities in the Commonwealth. She's actually an advisor to the MMA's new communications group that I joined. They just started up a couple weeks ago, and she's been a pleasure to work with. So here's Brianna.
Well, thank you so much, Nate. Thank you for that introduction. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Can you hear us all right?
Okay. I can hear you okay. There was a little bit of feedback towards the end, but as long as you can hear me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Nate. And thank you to the board for having me. I know you have a packed agenda, so I'll try to keep this concise, because I know you've got a lot of different things to move on to tonight. Would it be helpful to share my screen? I know that I think Tricia might have shared the presentation. She said the screen might be small for you all, but I'll go ahead and share my screen if it will benefit anybody on the call. Just a second while I do that. Okay. Everybody can see that okay from where you sit? And
Yes, we
and
can.
hopefully you did get a copy. Okay, great. So I'll just kind of get launched into our kickoff. What you're about to see is an abbreviated version of our actual kickoff that we had with staff members earlier in the summer. So what we're going to be talking about today, as Nate kind of teed us up to, is the professional development strategy and program, and we'll go into the details of that in just a second. So let's move on quickly. Some background about the Collins Center. So the Collins Center for Public Management, again, has worked with Hubbardston. We have 2 active projects right now. We've had projects in the past. And so we're housed at UMass Boston, and we primarily serve local governments, municipalities in the Commonwealth, as well as state agencies. And we've also worked in a number of neighboring states, helping other local governments with projects of wide variety. For example, some of the practice areas Nate mentioned in his intro are communications. We've got a human resources practice area, finance, schools, innovation, IT. So a lot of different staff members and team members working across the Commonwealth on a whole wide variety of different types of projects. On this specific project, obviously, you have me here as your project manager, Brianna Sunrid. I joined the center a little over a year ago, but before that was primarily working in local government exclusively in the town of Amherst, in the city of Worcester, but a lot of work creating best practices for our professional associations for local government practitioners. So not on this call with me, but here in spirit are my other team members. We have Mary Accardi working on this project as well, who is a senior associate at the center. She leads our, among many other functions, but she leads our human resources and our workplace development practice areas. And we're very lucky to have Margaret Arsenal, who is an associate as well at the Collins Center. And she is the former director of workplace learning and development at UMass Amherst. So decades and decades of experience working directly with staff members to understand their needs and the needs of the organization, and then building training and planning and strategies around that. So she's going to be a fabulous asset to Hubbardston and to this project and to this team. And then finally, we have Kelsey Edmond, who is a management analyst with us at the center. She's going to be doing a fair bit of research and data analysis for the survey and for the interviews, which you'll hear about in just a moment. So that's our project team for this particular project in Hubbardston. And then really why we're here, I guess I could say we're here because of you all and one of your established goals. So we are working off of one of the goals that the select board had created related to recruiting and retaining highly qualified staff, which I'm sure you're all familiar with that goal, having probably been a part of that. But one of the really great things was that your town administrator was able to secure a complimentary community compact best practice grant that's going to support progress on this goal. And that's kind of what we're talking about here today, and you'll see in just a moment where we are in the project and the full timeline. But we're really hoping to explore knowledge, skills, competencies of your current staff across departments, across functional areas, and try to identify through analysis of your organization, your structure, but also with speaking with staff members directly and surveying them directly, try to understand what additional training or professional development is needed to achieve the goal that's been set forth. So I think it would be helpful if you have your packet. I'm not sure if this made its way in the packet. Hopefully you can see this, but I'll kind of verbally go through the different project phases and timeline.
We each have one, so we're looking right at it.
Okay, great. I know it can be rather small if you're sharing a smaller screen. So as I said, we kicked off this project formally this summer, where we introduced the team members with the town staff, primarily the town administrator and his team, where we looked over the project, any updates, we discussed the background materials that we were going to require for review. And so now we're in this phase currently where you can kind of see this arrow where we're reviewing the documents that were submitted, a large volume of standard operating procedures, org charts, job descriptions. So those were uploaded by the Hubbardston staff members, and the team is currently reviewing them. And then the other portion of that background is short intake survey where we ask very pointed questions to the town administrator to inform our next steps. As we get all of those pieces done, we will do a deep dive again. This is kind of already started, where we're analyzing that background information, looking at the organizational charts and the job descriptions and existing procedures, and mapping out next steps for that. The piece that we wanted to hopefully get to next, you'll see, is a staff orientation, where we want to speak with the staff to let them know what it is that we're doing, answer any questions, give them a similar kind of background and kickoff as we're doing today, and as we did with the town administrator and his staff. So into the fall, we're looking to finalize and deploy a survey that will go to supervisors and non-supervisory positions that will give us a lot of information that will inform our strategy that's coming up in subsequent steps. The other piece is that the project does have some time set aside to interview select or key staff members where further information might be needed. Luckily, I've gotten a chance to speak with a lot of the staff on previous project that we're working on that does, as Nate mentioned, has some really nice overlap and intersection. So getting a good sense of what folks on the ground are experiencing and what they might need from their perspective as well, to kind of round out the background information. And really from there, we will work together in consultation with Nate and his team to create a strategic approach for that sustained professional development. And for example, including a 5-year plan for training needs by functional area, and trying to get some of the items that you had mentioned in terms of maybe potential issues with turnover, create some operating procedures or standards so that if someone new does come into position, they'll have some of that structure in place. And so the other thing I'll mention that I think is really interesting in the way that your town administrator designed this project and the other one is creating a little bit of what I would refer to as seed project money as part of the grant. So we're not just looking at handing over a report at the end of the engagement. We have money set aside so that the town administrator can implement something directly in terms of bringing in a specific training or a series of trainings. So with this project and the other project, there is the report and the memo, but there's also money set aside to put something into action, which was really important to the town administrator.
So Brianna, as much as I'd love to take that whole idea and make it mine, at least 3 members of the people sitting here today made sure that when I was applying for these grant opportunities that it was not just a report to sit on a shelf and collect dust. So I would like to thank them as well for their intrigue and ensuring that we get a little more out of these opportunities.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you paused and gave credit where credit was due. So then, going back to the reason why we're here, the goal of the select board, and also envisioning having some action-oriented outcomes it's great, and we're really excited to be able to do that with these projects. It's not something you see every day, so we're happy that you're working with us in this fashion so that we can give you not only informed options, but also a path forward for implementing some of them. All right, I am just going to skip ahead then quickly. I won't linger on this, but this is just an example of some of the things that our team is currently looking at that Nate did supply to us. Again, job descriptions, lists of previous trainings and efforts and initiatives that might have taken place in the organization, onboarding materials. So just really looking at a wide array of different documents that will help inform that strategy and that plan moving forward. And then immediate next steps really is for us to finish up that background analysis of all the documents that we have and really get something set up for the staff to be oriented towards the project, whether that's a memo or whether that's a short info session. We'll be working with Nate on deciding what the best way to introduce the project to the staff members will be. And ultimately, later in this fall, we would like to get that survey rolled out. That's going to give us a lot of information to work with in terms of pushing forward on the strategic plan. Okay, I'm not sure, Nate, if you have time on the docket for questions or anything like that, but I'm happy to.
That would be up to the chair. If anyone had any relevant questions for Brianna.
Feel free, absolutely, yes. If anyone has any follow-up or questions for her.
Thank you.
All right, guess not.
I'm looking forward to the IT one.
What'd you say, Heather?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the efficiency one.
Oh,
When are we thinking, Brianna? Because I know we want to wrap it up so that I can apply for a tech grant in January.
We are getting really close to getting you a draft for you to review with some of the recommendations. I think you kind of know the general theme areas, but pulling together the formal draft with the idea that we would get you that well in advance of the application period, because part of the recommendations are going to be pointing to that as a resource for follow-up. So I'm thinking in the next week or two, you would have that draft for you to review, and then we move into any revisions. We'll have a matrix for you to add comments and revisions for you and your staff, or whoever you would like to be part of the review beyond the team that we've already been working with.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Well, thank you all for your time. Nate has my contact information. If something happens afterwards or you want to funnel a question through him to me, I'm happy to respond to any things that you might think of later.
Well, we thank you for your time too, so.
Yeah, well, thank you all, and it's been a pleasure getting to know folks in Hubbardston and the staff members that I've been working with. They've been very talented and helpful, so thanks again.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too, thank you.
I was biting my finger, but I can't bite it any harder. Let's not ask questions, so I'm gonna ask a question, if I may.
Well, should we just
No,
watch it?
to relate
Oh.
through him to go to her.
No, she's still here.
Oh, she's
Okay,
there.
so
We have a
Um,
question, I believe, yeah, go ahead.
a question or more of a statement type thing. I mean, I know, the whole part of this deal is training and job descriptions and everything like that, but, I mean, I was a training officer for a department that I worked for in the state for a couple of years. And whenever you're dealing with the public, which we are in the business of dealing with the public, you should have people certified in CPR and first aid. Like so many in this building, not the fire station, obviously, not the fire people, and so many people in our other building. And we should have AEDs available. I'm sure there's grants out there for all this stuff. So, maybe, I didn't know if you guys thought of anything, like maybe, out of so many people that work in this building, maybe 1 to 2 of them be certified CPR, AED certified, which comes with the, in your basic BLS, basic life support. Cause that first couple of minutes of something happening, especially where we just bought a new building, we're gonna be moving to a bigger building where there's gonna be more people around and probably more inviting to the public. So there's gonna be more people in and out. So I was just thinking maybe we can squeeze something in or not, if there's no money available.
So Peter, I believe at least one of either Lieutenant Dixon or Mr. Dixon are trained in being able to do that, so that's something.
Right,
can
which is,
probably-
we could use our own people to train our
Yeah.
own staff, but
Mhm.
as long as he can, they can get their credentials from him
Yeah.
also. That's the only thing I'm questioning, whether that should be part of this or something we should do on our own, I don't know. That's why I brought it up, and that's all I have to ask.
It's similar to how I feel about Narcan. You don't need it until until you really do.
Well, I think it just, Brianna, when you're writing up, when you guys get to the point of, the minimum level of trainings for everybody, I mean, there's many towns out there that offer training that they require any new staff or anyone who needs to be recertified to take every 2 years, or whatever the certification
I think it's 2
expires.
years, yeah.
Just because, again, Peter has a fantastic point, as I always tell people, I understand you may not think you feel comfortable using this skill, but you never know, and it's a great one to have. So I think it's a great point to add to make sure when we're looking at things that everyone can do who walks into the building, that's a great one to add.
And another bonus is, once you learn it, it's more or less, it helps you more at home and when you're with your family, you're
Mhm.
gathering, so that's the positive about it.
And it's relatively inexpensive, you just have
Yeah,
to
it
cover
is.
the cost of the hours of the person training and then
Yeah.
the cards.
Yeah,
And then we're already paying people to be here, so.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
good point.
It gets tough. I'm CPR certified, and I would be scared to use that.
Did she get a chance to respond to you?
No.
Does that sound like
No,
something
I
you
was
can
just-
add?
Sorry, I was just gonna say that's a great point, and I think especially as we, I could speak for my previous organization, we ended up tapping into the talents of our fire department, who ended up rolling out a train the trainer program for other people outside of public safety. So it's certainly something we'll take a note of. We'll see what comes up in the interviews, but if that's a need that emerges, we can certainly make sure we include that in the report.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good,
Thank you.
good suggestion, Peter, thank you. Okay. Once again, thank you very much. So,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
anything else?
No.
Okay, then we will move on to the next presentation with Kelly on the FEMA Public Assistance Appeals update. So is she,
Yep, she's coming up.
Kelly, can you
Hi,
hear?
good evening, everyone.
Okay, you're up, go ahead.
Hi. Well, I can honestly tell you, after working with FEMA for a year trying to recoup this money, FEMA is now a four-letter word for me. It was probably one of the most challenging things that I've experienced. When all was said and done, we had a deficit of $142,000 that FEMA owed us. And bless Dennis Hart, he had filed all of the reports, everything. He worked with Ryan, and they got all the reports filed with FEMA. I will say during that time, though, it was every other day we get another email that would say, okay, this is the final rule. And then a few days later we get another one. This is the final rule. And it was changing daily of what they would pay for, what they wouldn't pay for. Now when it came down to the very end here, the reports that Dennis had filed, they wouldn't pay for most of that stuff. And so we kind of had to go back to the drawing board to basically resubmit all of the forms. I had to learn the portal of how to communicate with FEMA, worked with the police chief and the fire chief, Nate. We've spent hours going back and forth with them and meeting with them and discussing, what they would, cover and what they wouldn't. But our efforts have gotten all of that deficit of the $142,000 covered, but $56,000. So currently we still have a deficit of $56,000 in COVID that we're going to need to cover that deficit. There's multiple towns that are in the same boat we are. The FEMA, they would tell us that, okay, this is going to be covered. So, like, for example, the overnight at the fire departments, that's one of the things that came back that, no, they're not going to cover those shifts. So I would say the majority of this $56,000 is caused from the overnight shifts at the fire department that they didn't cover. The DOR has graciously allowed towns 3 years to raise this. So we are able to divide that $56,000. We have two options. You can either vote and use free cash to cover it, or they're letting us divide it in 3 years and raise it on the recap. And for Hubbardston at this time, the best way is to do it that over the 3 years. So we'll get we'll be able to raise that, and then in 3 years that deficit will be gone and we'll be clear of the COVID. But I will say that it was quite an experience. I never dreamed that working with them could be so difficult. They would say something and it was like they wanted us to read between the lines, and then we'd get off the call and the four of us would talk about it, and it was like, well, what do you have any idea what they meant? So anyway, it was quite an adventure, but after this year we were able to accomplish a good majority of that money recouped for the town. So do you all have any questions or anything about that?
So Kelly, for everyone here, can you just explain what it means to have something raised on the recap?
Okay, so when you raise the money on the recap, it goes as part of the taxes that are assessed to the taxpayers. So for this little bit of money that's going to be raised each year is not going to be very much of an impact, but that's how it will be. When I say raised on the recap, it's added to the town's residents' taxes. But like I said, for the tiny amount that this will be divided by 3, it will be no evident, huge amount that they're going to notice. We're talking a few pennies.
Is that something just for our own educational standpoint, we could just work up that number so we know what it is?
Yes, we can do that to get the exact amount.
I know folks tend to be very sensitive about tax bills, and when things go up in general, it always is confusing enough each year, and then to see more things, especially.
When you keep hearing it's a minute charge about 6 or 7 times a year, it adds up. And that's what we keep hearing. It's a minimal charge, but all these minimals will add up at the end, and that's what we hear. So,
I just,
Okay.
my concern is more just after special town meeting,
Mhm.
because we said you're not gonna have a tax impact right now, I don't want someone to be confused and mistake this for that. So I just wanna make sure
Okay.
we're being transparent up front and saying, hey, this is what happened, here's the amount that's getting raised this year in the tax recap, this will impact, there's no vote associated with it, but this is happening.
Yeah, Nate and I can put something together, to show exactly how much that's gonna impact, the taxpayers, so that they can see that, and we'll have that on the website.
Absolutely, and we tried everything we could. It actually was, we've probably been working on this for the better part of a year, giving you guys a couple updates. We started with me shaking my hand and saying, I'm gonna call our congressman. And
Yeah.
so we did call the congressman, but we're one of
shoulda,
several.
woulda, coulda, so let's say, had we had 100,000 left over in our ARPA account, we could've paid it back with that, just given the money back.
Correct.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
It's on 56,000, that's all. Not that that's a huge amount, right?
It is a huge amount.
Yes and no.
When you don't
See,
have any
this is-
money,
well,
it's a lot of
This is
money.
why government is too big and it makes too many big
Well,
rules and
'cause
it
they
changes
can't-
the rules and all these little towns like us are stuck in the middle.
Well, when you deal with FEMA, you're dealing with, you know, an assistant supervisor, a supervisor, a manager, assistant manager, and it keeps going up the chain.
Government is too big.
And everybody has a basic idea of what this is supposed to be. So the thing we can do, let it pay the bill and move along.
Mhm.
Basically, that's where we're at,
Yep.
unfortunately.
Let's go. Next.
Thank you for that explanation, Kelly, greatly appreciated.
I would like to thank
Okay.
Kelly and the two chiefs for working out and part of our team for this. It is better than I thought this conversation was going to be 6 months ago. Still not perfect, but we have done every bit of couch cushion flipping and that we could do. They do not want to approve some of the things that they said they were going to approve 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot, 56 is a lot easier than 142, that's the only positive out of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, you guys have a great evening.
You too.
And we'll get that figured out for the taxes so that we know pinpoint exactly what the amount will be, okay?
Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. The onus on this, is it more state or on us or both? As far as
Federal.
Hmm?
It's federal.
Yeah.
So
it's-
basically what happened is a
so
couple
the-
years ago, that everyone knew that their CARES money was going to be able to be utilized, but the people that were here back then utilized additional money in something called FEMA Public Assistant monies on top of the
Mhm.
CARES money. It was even back then a little bit of a rocky decision, but when it's nothing or something,
Mhm.
you give it a try. So not to blame anyone at all, but
Blame them.
Well, the point is, it's not on us.
no,
I think the town needs to know that too.
Yeah.
you know.
I'd blame them.
the rules changed between
Yeah, it's
the
not their
beginning.
fault, I mean, they're being told one thing, and then 6 months, 2 years later, they're being told another thing, what are you supposed to do?
Well, we saw the same thing with ARPA,
Yeah.
right? When ARPA originally rolled
Yeah,
out, you
it's
can't
not-
use it for anything, then
Yeah.
it was, oh, anything goes.
Yeah, a new email, oh no, how do we
So-
work this in?
And it didn't help that the president changed during all of this, so the rules were kind of
Yep.
flipped on their head.
Well, based on the situation and the information we had at the time, it was the right decision.
Yep.
Now that the rules have changed, it's not as favorable as it was back then. But we have no control over the rules, we just have to abide by them.
Right.
Exactly.
Anything, excuse me, anything else on this? Okay, before we go to the consent agenda, I wanna just go back to the way I opened the meeting and was thanking people. I did not mean to miss you, but I realized I didn't even say thank you to our town administrator who basically steered the ship all the way, so I apologize, Nate, and thank you very much.
This board and the Public Safety Committee made sure that that was all gonna be communicated to the public, and your 12 meetings in 3 weeks, I think really, really made a big difference when it came to people's knowledge of the situation.
Absolutely,
Is
I
that how many
agree
meetings we had?
totally.
No, that was
No, more like 6 or 7.
yeah.
It was a lot though.
But again, thank you, and I apologize for skipping over you.
Yeah, and we shouldn't have to do that for a little while. There will be some thinking and some drafting, but not heavy like that.
Here, here. Okay,
Sure, there'll be lots of memos.
we have consent agenda. I'll go through it as I usually do, and then if anyone has any holds or questions, please, state it. We have five sets of minutes, with the exception of August 19th, when Heather wasn't here, everybody was present at all the other for all the meetings. So when we do, vote on the agenda, we'll take that separately, the, minute, that particular minute. So we also have ratification of appointments, Mark Kresge, member, zoning board, effective 8/20/2025. Diana Johnson, member, Board of Health, ATE 2025. Brittany Whitney, election worker, election department, effective 4/1/2025. Patricia Lamro, member, Council on the Aging, effective 6/30/2025.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Just give a rundown on some of these people. Mark Kresge is the former land use clerk who is on our open space committee. We all know Mark. This was more a favor to the community than Mark wanting to be on the zoning board, if we're being completely honest. There was a variance and there was not enough people on the zoning board of appeals to meet on the variance. So Mark took the hit. Diane Johnson is a local nurse who has the recommendation of the chair and the Board of Health to fill a position until the annual town election in 2025, where she will have to run for the remainder of her seat. Brianna Whitney is an election worker who used to be the clock employee here in town. I believe her mother is also an election worker.
Yeah, the one that used to wind the clock. That is not being
Like in the White House? That's so cool.
And then Patricia Lamro, who also has the chair of the Council on Aging and board support, is a former member of the COA.
okay. Going back, are there any questions on any of the dates for our minutes? None there? Yep, go ahead.
No, not in the minutes, just
Okay.
on, appointments. I
All
have a
right, so
question.
any questions there? Go ahead.
On this Board of Health, that is for a member on the Board of Health, not for a nurse being hired for the Board of Health?
Oh, no, it's for a member
That's all I wanted to
on the
check.
board of, it is not that.
She
Okay.
just happens to be
She
a
ha-
nurse.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
She happens to be a
All
healthcare
right,
provider.
I didn't know if it was the same person, or they're trying to work something in, I don't know. So just checking on that, thank you.
The agenda's going forward, can we just write effective until or expires on, cause writing effective, just threw me for a loop, I had to read the numbers twice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so, excuse me. Any other holds or questions? Then, with the exception of the meeting, August 19th, take that one separately. Could I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Item consent agenda A, meetings August 19th, 2024. Heather was not here. Could I have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion, question? Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Yes.
Opposed? Abstained?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. So we now move to new business. The first thing is the ARPA update and proposals. Nate, if I could, pass
Thank
it
you,
over to you.
Mr. Chair. I provided an update on what is going on with our ARPA allocation. After all is said and done, and I took out the monies that was allocated to the open space, allocated to radios, and I believe there were some smaller other allocations. It's on the form that I sent out, but it is not directly in front of me. We had $21,147.81 available for allocation. We have to spend this by the end of the year or lose it. And when they say spend, they don't mean allocate like we have. We either have to be in a contract or have the money gone. So with that, I made 3 proposals. They are just proposals, and I'm open to hearing your suggestions as well, obviously, because at the end of the day, it is the select board's choice as to what we do with these monies. The proposals are an OPEB, other post-employment benefits actuarial study for $3,900. This came from about a month and a half ago, where during our goals meeting, it was reiterated that the select board would really like us to continue looking for opportunities for retiree healthcare and meeting at least some part of our OPEB liability. So that's where that came from. It's quite a long document. The gentleman that provided the quote is one of the more popular people on the state bid list that works with towns to figure this out. As I stated in the letter associated with this part of the agenda, we are one of approximately 10%, maybe less, of communities in the Commonwealth that have not done something about OPEB. The next suggestion was for select board laptops for $5,120.50. The current laptops are outdated and approximately 11 years old. Jeff is losing some buttons. But the laptops are certainly outdated. CM Geeks had noted that they will provide emergency fixes and setup as a professional courtesy, but we did not want to add the $225 annually
They get all my buttons.
to this. I think that is a good idea to bring everybody back up to a point where you all have similarly functioning technology. And then I can justifiably tell Member Monroe that there will be no paper.
We're gonna have to debate this one because
We're killing trees, Heather, we're killing trees.
for me to read things, I have to mark.
There will be paper. We can certainly
Oh.
and then
How many laptops
Right there,
is that
sir.
involved?
5.
5,024 is the estimated price for each.
So, as I look at these numbers, I don't believe they add up to $21,147.87, do they?
This does. Maybe not the 87 cents, but it's missing 37 cents.
Okay.
And then the third is a server and equipment for temporary town office move. The drawing that I put in your packet is a temporary pre-draft thought to illustrate something that we may consider doing in the future. Pre-draft, but wherever we go, when we move over to 48 Gardner Road, which is the short-term plan, we will need this server in order to get our functionality up there. This would not go to waste after the final move, because it would then become our backup server.
Where's our current server?
In the police department.
So that's still latest and greatest?
Yep.
So
Where
we're,
We got it in FY '24.
okay,
We just did a whole server switch
so we need 2,
3 months ago.
okay.
So where's our backup server today?
I get it.
In the senior center.
So
in that
one
way.
building goes down, we lose all of our stuff.
Yep.
Okay, we don't have any offsite backups or
We
any
do have
cloud
offsite
backups?
backups. It backs up several times a day. I don't have that exact information with me, but it does back up.
It never used to.
It never used to,
Right,
yeah.
with the new server, yeah.
Any other comments or questions on this?
So, this one, if we do purchase this, will go up to be the bridge till everything gets moved in there, and then this one will, what will happen, this one will stay here, cause obviously they're phase 2 or 3.
Yep.
And then, so we'll still have a backup here.
Yeah, and then when police comes over.
The
we'll
main one will
back up.
come over,
Yeah,
and then we'll have a spare, and the main
And
and a
it all
spare there.
backs up to the cloud.
Okay, thank you.
Now, 12,000,
Mhm.
I assume that's CM Geek's
That is-
estimate?
that's
They
CM
think
Geek's
it's gonna be sufficient for the same space and everything that we
Yep.
currently have now?
Yes,
Okay, it seems a little low.
I
Does
agree.
seem cheap.
So, refresh my memory where this $21,147.87 is coming from.
It
Because
was-
I've asked time and time again if our ARPA funds were all allocated, and the answer was yes. Then I think I recall something we had allocated, we decided we weren't gonna follow through with, so that freed up some more money?
Yes, it was the allocation for studying Jan's Auto as
Yes, 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 yes,
as a
yes,
public
yes.
safety building.
Okay, so that's
Which-
why we have,
Yes. And then a couple months ago, when we came forward looking, it was right before the 48 Gardner Road stuff came out. Remember, the Public Safety Building Committee came here and we were looking to do, I'd have to look back at the minutes or watch the video. We're looking to do some sort of study, and a couple of the things were passed, but we were asked to hold back on on a certain level of the study, and then the 48 Gardner Road stuff started coming, so we never got around to requesting the remainder of the money, and now it's freed up.
So, one question I have all the eminent domain checks been cashed?
No.
So how do you cover those if somebody goes to cash when there's no ARPA money?
All the eminent domain checks that are out have either been cashed or are no longer, or are void.
Okay.
All of our eminent domain commitments have not been met. Because if you remember, the commitment period is longer than the end of this year.
Right, okay, yeah, so,
So the amount here that's showing for Route 68 easements has already been expended, the 27,200, like 100% cash
Yep,
done.
yep.
Is that what you're asking?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I have just a couple questions. So on the laptops, Nate, is that what everyone's currently sporting, is the Dell?
No,
What is everyone sporting?
I think these are
Chromebooks.
Acers
No,
from,
I'm sorry, not what is currently on the table, but what staff,
yes.
you guys are currently sporting the Dell.
Yeah.
I assume CM Geeks is gonna make a recommendation to go with the piece of equipment that they're already currently supporting, because it makes more sense, you have one go down, you know what the problem is, you can address the other.
Mhm.
So, the other option, if they're not tied to that and you want something else, and I don't know if there's other options available out there, but I can tell you, I've used Lenovo a few times. What I like about Lenovo is, first of all, they always have sales, which is great. But the second thing is, I can get a 3-year hardware warranty on my device, which I had to do at a time when I didn't have an IT constant person to be able to look at them. So if something went wrong, and we've had a couple of them have some issues, it covers it. So you don't have to worry about pulling over Paul
Yeah.
and paying for that, so it's just another option.
Yeah, and by all means, I can go and do internet
Yeah.
research. I brought this was a relatively quick turnaround, cause
Yeah.
both 2 members of the 5 of you were bringing it up. So when I saw that we had the availability, brought it forward. CM Geeks was the first group that I went to get a quote. And I can go get more quotes. This does not need to be approved tonight.
So the second piece is with Brianna from the Collins Center, I know they don't have their IT or their efficiency report done yet, but this might be something we wanna throw at her as a thought, just because if she's gonna make recommendations for efficiencies, and if there's any software or hardware things that would be part of that upgrade, we wanna make sure we don't miss the boat, right? We don't wanna
Right.
get a device and then she says, oh no, based
Yeah.
on all of our interviews, you need touchscreens, right?
No.
Such spent 12 grand and now they're not compatible with where we wanna head.
It's auditing software, an e-permitting system with kiosks, and your updating the clerk is what the three suggestions are going to end up being. So none of those will be touchscreens or anything hardware wise. The focuses are going to end up being on ensuring that we can operate seamlessly both from the web and just as easily here with people able to do that, possibly a CRM system, a customer resource management system, and ensuring that the clerk's office can function as highly as possible.
Okay, would the new laptops have cameras?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I had for questions on that.
So am I understanding, or maybe not, we're not going to make a motion to approve this tonight because you want more information, is that correct, Heather, or?
I'm happy either way, I think it's just, making sure that we're not accidentally missing something, I don't wanna, go forward with an order and then Brianna comes back with an idea and she's like, you need touchscreens, that crazy lady needs
Yeah.
paper, needs to be able to highlight, right, like, whatever.
Well, whatever the feeling of the board is, and whether we move to approve this or don't act on it.
I'll speak on her behalf that, what she's saying is 100%, I feel accurate. We need to know where we're going, where we're headed. We need to, if we're updating buildings and stuff like that, you obviously need to update technology, where we're headed. You need the latest, greatest and it usually comes with security enhancements, right? So nobody can break into our computer to get in through to their system. So, I know Lenovo's, usually when I've looked at them, they're a little more money, not a lot.
55% off right now,
Oh, that's,
Labor Day.
But essentially, are you suggesting that by
Eh,
doing that, we would have to be waiting until the total report is completely done?
No, I think
no,
just
but.
throwing a call or an email to
Yeah,
Brianna and saying, hey, that crazy
Absolutely.
lady who spoke at the meeting that you heard from a few minutes ago that you keep hearing from, she had a question that's gonna hold up the whole process here.
No,
But-
and that's fine, and just know, even internally, we're quite far from latest and greatest. Like, a capital request this year, all of our computers are gonna hit end of service with Windows 10 at the same time.
Yeah, Windows 10 is
So-
done, basically all done right now,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just to add to the conversation, 58 people in my group in my day job updated to Lenovo's because Windows
like 'em.
10 is a good 33% of them have crashed or broken
Yeah, lately.
and needed to be replaced. So as far as the brand and reliability of Lenovo equipment,
Yeah.
I'm
You
not
get the 3-year warranty and then they fix it.
I'm
They
not a-
replace it.
I just got this back myself.
So they all,
Is that a
they probably
Lenovo?
all still use Microsoft,
It
right?
is, but it does,
So,
What do you mean, you just got it back?
when it flips like this, it wasn't, working correctly, so I had to send it and then I got it.
So this is what we're talking about?
No, God, no, this is a Lenovo, I like it because it does this, but that's just me, cause I'm like, Heather, I need paper
I
to,
see.
and this
I will
works.
do my due diligence on the laptop versus cost versus,
Yes.
I think you just wanna, especially if Paul's not interested in being able to, or we're not interested in adding them for X dollars a year for those computers, then we probably wanna see if it's cost benefit analysis on just getting a warranty, whether, I don't know if Dell does it, they probably
Dell's
do.
does it for a year. Theirs is like a year automatic, standard, right?
Oh.
Standard a year.
So you might be able to get, if they have an extended
extended
one,
warranty.
because you're looking at the cost, right? Like if you have all the money up front, it doesn't make sense to cover it for a couple of years, cause
Yeah.
then at that point when it breaks, it's just dead anyway, 'cause They don't make things 11 years anymore.
Well, would it serve us then to move on the other two items that he has presented to us and temporarily move the select board item out?
What if I did this, Jeff? Would you be willing to accept a motion?
If, I gotta
We'd
hear
have
it.
to hear it
Okay,
first.
so my proposed motion, or would you be willing to hear a motion?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the town administrator to pursue the projects of the OPEB actuarial study, select board laptops and server and equipment for temporary offices using ARPA funds for an amount not to exceed $21,147.87.
Can you work with that?
That's all we have to work with.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second, good. Any discussion? Any questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff needs buttons.
Jeff doesn't need buttons.
Jeff needs buttons.
This doesn't have a charger.
Heather wants touchscreen, it's something she could highlight.
But we'll have to give her a lot of paper too.
Yeah, I know, I still want paper.
And I wanna, yeah.
I'm with you though,
Charger.
too, Heather, I really am, so.
You just give me a shoebox and just stick the paper inside it. You design it all you want.
I'm just gonna treat it as like an ADA request,
Yeah,
is
there
that
you
you have a hard time and I have to make it.
Okay, moving on, new business, land use reorganization. Nate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So here, how do I start this? A couple weeks ago, we moved forward with the part-time planner. He is already doing a wonderful job reviewing the accessory dwelling unit bylaw and how it will be impacted by new guidelines from the state and reviewing a few other things. He's redoing all of the forms and standard operating procedures. He has hit the ground running, certainly. We posted the land use clerk position that Patricia has been filling both previously permanently and then interimly, in the interim. And
There you go.
and got one applicant.
Yay.
And it was a quasi-internal applicant who is on our COA and had done some senior work off hours. Very nice woman who used to do insurance administrative work professionally. However, she did not want to work the 20-something hours that the land use clerk had previously been budgeted for. So with that, I sat down and worked with Alec and Patricia to see what we could come up with. And we were thinking if Patricia kept the customer-facing side of land use, we could do more with less. So we could send them over here, and with that, I proposed the creation of what I've been calling a board clerk, who will help with the minutes, agendas, making sure that the licensure gets out okay, and that residents are made aware of what they need to do, when they need to do it, connecting Alec with certain people and working through Patricia to work with the customer service end of the operation. In addition to that, I believe with 8 to 12 flexible hours, she could also be of assistance in covering offices when we are closed and ensuring that Mel has help with things like the census and the street listing, which are very heavy lifts for very short periods of time. Patricia, would you like to add anything on board clerk?
I would be keeping most of everything that I do. It's just someone to help me with the administrative tasks, like minutes, some of the more burdensome stuff that takes either an entire day or 2 days to do when you are serving as many boards and
Right.
committees as I am.
Yeah.
So she would be taking minutes, if meeting, attendance at meetings is required because there are things that the board needs to sign, like warrants and stuff like that, she would attend for me to get the signatures. And helping me with like in the case of special permits, like with Mr. Schmidt, it took me 2 weeks to run down all of his paperwork and get him organized while trying to juggle everything else. So it would be nice to have someone to help me chase down loose ends that need to be done before they're presented to either you or the planning board or the zoning board.
So the
or
executive assistant will have an assistant.
No,
the land use department will have an
the
assistant.
land use department will have an assistant.
I'm thinking it's all kind of blended together at this point.
How does
Sounds
that
so
work out
messy.
monetarily now?
We save like $37
A week?
No, just in general.
Total.
It
A
What, what do
year.
you mean in general, a month, a year?
A year,
Annually.
annually.
Yeah.
$37?
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Woo, yeah, buy pizzas.
Not many.
No,
No.
1.5.
It was all broken down in the attached.
I saw it earlier, yeah.
Yep, it read messy and it sounds messy.
So I have a question, Nate.
Go ahead.
So you have part-time planner, you have the land use clerk and the board clerk. Who reports to whom?
Technically, everyone reports to me.
And we have job descriptions that would align for each of these?
Yes.
And they'd all report to you?
Yep.
Okay, so then what do you do with the people from cable conservation planning and zoning when, how do you avoid giving a duplicative order or direction, right? Katie, let's say Katie is the board clerk and I'm on cable, Chris is over here on planning and Peter's on zoning. I need those minutes now, Katie.
Because as was explicitly made aware to Patricia when she was, and is currently in the role, the chairs are a dotted line connected to the land use clerk or whatever position it would be at that time. Whereas my line is a non-dotted line. That was made explicitly evident. The planning board is a lot more work than any of the other committees necessarily.
Mhm.
Not because of membership, but because of their busy
Tasks.
schedules and the amount of work that they do in a year. Boiling this all down, yes, is this exactly what I want to do? No, but it has been, is this exactly what Patricia wants to do? I'm going with no.
So,
But we
why-
have one applicant in a month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you don't wanna, you can't keep it posted if the job is filled, so.
And even since then, we've had 0 applicants.
My only,
Right.
so, we talked about this earlier, Nate, right? I have a couple concerns here. One is, this is a lot for one person to be able to do, right? The board support for all these pieces, even if you have one planning board hearing or meeting and it goes for 3 or 4 hours, unless someone is efficiently typing the meeting minutes as they're sitting there in the meeting, that could be several hours to a couple days worth of work to get those done. Preparing the agenda supporting documents, that's easy enough, it's photocopying and organizing, that's straightforward. Managing public hearing notifications and abutter notices, do we have those internal checklists done?
Yep, everything's done. It would literally be printing, putting them in envelopes, and with certified mailings, we actually get everything together and then hand it to the applicant.
And then they do it.
Then they do it.
Okay, that answers that question. Now, what about, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the zoning bylaws we accepted a few meetings ago that approved from the AG's office, have we got that posted yet? And who would be responsible for posting that? Cause that seems like a higher level of responsibility.
It's the town, that's the town clerk's responsibility, even,
Okay,
like, no matter what.
okay.
The posting and receipt of the general bylaw and zoning bylaws from the municipal review committee
Okay.
in the Attorney General's office is a town clerk function.
Okay, so when you're talking about public hearing notifications, you're not talking about that as part of
No,
that?
like
No.
putting something in the paper or putting it up on the wall.
Okay,
So it appears that, as you said, you had one applicant, and I'm assuming, could be mistaken on that sense, that the lack of applicants is because the job is not big enough for the amount someone would be looking to make some money on, but in the same sense, we have a need to have this kind of help, if I'm putting that correctly.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, in that sense? In other words, it's not something we're gonna post again and expect anyone else to come in and have.
No, but what we're doing is we're creating a very specialty spot, whereas 3 people all kind of are intertwined so well, that if one of those pieces leaves, it screws the other 2, and we're stuck in a weird position again. So that's what we're doing.
Which is worse?
I need, both suck, both suck.
Mhm.
But the problem is if one of these people leave, then we're really stuck, because no one is necessarily gonna wanna do that amount of work for either that short a time or that amount of time or whatever. So I feel like this is not a good idea, even though no one's applying. And I don't know how to fix it, I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know how to fix it, but I don't feel this is the right path.
Well, there's not enough hours for a person to commit to,
That's
you know,
what I
a
was-
job that doesn't pay. They go to the cities, right? The cities have big planners.
Yep.
You know, full-time, 70,000 a year, whatever they make.
And that's something I also need you guys to remember. Previously, we did not have a professional planner on call.
Right.
So this is truly, truly, truly an administrative aid position. And Patricia would remain the forward-facing, it would actually be open more hours than we have been in the past.
She's gonna
already.
get
So
burnt
she's
out.
gonna be the land use clerk?
That's what I mean.
You're gonna
She's
be
get
land
burnt
use
out
clerk?
first.
How, and that's 30 hours, how many hours is the executive assistant for you?
26. It used to be 30
I'm
hours.
confused, so how do you mesh the 30 and the
Exactly.
26?
So-
Cause
That's
that
what I'm trying to say.
26
I got-
plus 30 makes more than 40.
I've got one screen, which is all executive assistant. Got another screen that's all planning, zoning, conservation, and cable.
She's got
Okay,
3
but how do
screens
you
in there.
get to 40 hours a week with 56?
She's gonna burn herself out. We're gonna burn her
I
out.
don't know how you, I don't think you can do that. I don't think, you know, you could caffeinate as much as you can for the first 2
Mountain
months and
Dews.
work, you
It's
know, the
Mountain Dew.
56. I don't know how it's but how do you mesh 2 positions that require
Because
26 and 30 hours a
What she
week?
was doing before, we did not have a planner or an administrative position. She is not, she or whomever would be filling this role would not be doing 56 hours per week. They would be doing the 26 hours per week for executive assistant and then be compensated for doing the customer-facing side of land use, where Alec and Lorraine would do the lion's share of the administrative facets of the office.
So then theoretically, based on Trisha holding these 2 hats and
Many hats, many
these
hats.
very large 2 hats, so the hours she'd work on a weekly basis would only be 14 at max, cause otherwise she's triggering OT.
No, she worked 30 hours salary in general.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's no,
What am I
this isn't-
missing?
This isn't humanly possible, is what I'm saying long term.
Oh, you think both functions are gonna get done in the
No.
30-hour window? But
With-
right now,
with-
we had,
With Alec and Lorraine's assistants,
so previously it was 26 hours a
previously-
week for your assistant.
and 20 hours a week for land use. But now, we have a professional planner,
6 hours a week, right?
6 to 10 hours a week.
6
But
to
if
10?
you, so based on my math, at 6 hours a week, that's 51.5 weeks. If it's 10 hours a week, you lose him after 31. If he's working max 10 hours a week, you don't have it beyond 31 weeks.
Right, cause it's was a $6,000 budget,
14,000.
It's 14,000
14.
cap,
capped. Like,
Yes.
once he gets there, he's done for the year.
311 hours annually.
Yeah.
This is what do you hear now?
I do hear
Okay.
what you're saying.
Thank you.
Just Trisha's amazing, but she's not an
yes.
acrobat.
Exactly,
Sorry,
and I don't
Tricia.
want to burn her out. I don't wanna burn her out.
I-
don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
I've been doing it
I think,
for the past, what?
But I don't think it's gonna
Time out.
change.
I don't think you're understanding, with the most respect, that this is a completely different thing. Like, now we have 2 other bodies, whereas before, Patricia and Mark before her were doing everything, and your husband was doing a ton of work to pick up the extra. But now, we have someone that we're paying to be borderline a consultant to the planning board, and this person would have a assistant to help. It would be Alec having the help of Lorraine. All Patricia would be doing is the customer facing side of it, because she's already here doing that side of things.
Chris, you wanted to say something?
I'll pull the,
Well,
I can go back to the drawing
I think, you know, Nate and Patricia are probably the people closest to this, and I think we have to take their opinion about the situation pretty seriously. If they're confident of the requirements and the time involved, and they have a go-forward plan, then I think that's the plan we should support, because they're the subject matter experts on it. I mean, nothing is written in stone, and nothing has to last forever, but, you know,
So,
we've gotta do something.
If stuff hits the fan and someone leaves or is asked to leave,
Right, and we
it breaks
can't-
weird.
we can't anticipate that.
Admittedly.
so Alec's been with us now, what, 3 weeks, give or
Yeah,
take?
about a month.
So how many hours, Tricia, have you been putting in for the planning side of things since Alec's been on board?
Since Alec's been on board, I haven't honestly had to do as much as I used to, because it was on me to make sure that the forms were updated, that things were getting done. I was looking at the zoning recodification and helping Nate figure out grants for that. That is not where my knowledge lies, because I didn't go to school to be a planner. So I was relying on town consultant, Mr. Murray and your husband Chris, to kind of find my way through the dark, and or calling my counterparts in other towns to be like, good lord, what am I doing wrong?
So last 3 weeks with
Last
Alec on
3
board,
weeks.
how many hours have you been putting in for the planning side of the house?
Planning side of the house, probably about 10, and that includes minutes, but I can do minutes like you wouldn't believe. I can do them
Okay,
quickly.
so you've been still putting in about 10 hours a week. Alec has been putting in how many hours for the last 3 weeks?
7 was his last paycheck.
Okay, so, but here's the problem, right? Like, I can tell you, right now, I think what's happening, or going to happen, is all Alec's gonna be picking up is what Chris used to do, right? Chris's 6 hours a week should be shifting to Alec, cause Alec will do that work. The rest of those hours are still going to be on town staff. Otherwise, you're shifting that back to the planning board members who have full-time jobs and can't do it. They burn out just like a normal person. I love the fact that we're thinking outside the box. I love the fact that we're putting different pieces together. I don't like the fact that we're putting so much pressure on so few individuals to keep the boat afloat. And I totally get it, right? I get the limitations. I get the hard part to find people. I get the fact that it's so frustrating because we've had these open and we still can't fill them. But I have to agree with Katie on this one. I'm concerned about sustainability for this piece. Like right now it could be a lull. I think planning boards canceled their last 4 meetings or so, give or take.
It's summertime lull.
But they canceled their meetings. If their meetings were rolling, you'd be working more than 10 hours a week on the land use side and just planning, let alone if anyone's building anything and Concom starts rocking and rolling.
I do have a public hearing coming up. Luckily that is the only thing on the agenda. I've had one right after another just because people are trying to get stuff in before Mother Nature rears her ugly head.
Snowflies.
The snow flies. That being said though, I've got this nice little planning and it seems to do this quite often. Over the past year I've noticed these highs and lows.
Mhm.
One board is extremely busy, the other one is not.
As long as you don't have a big building project going on at the same time and then they're all rocking.
Right. With that though, having some support would go a long way. Especially when I'm one person. I can't be 6 places at once.
No.
Having Alec, I know that I'm in better hands. He's actually a really good communicator. So he said, you know, with planning stuff, he dumbs it down to a point where it's very easy for me to be like, all right, this is what he needs. Here you go. But at the same time, I've got 2 boards that one board hasn't met in over a year, and one met once last year.
Zoning.
Zoning met once. Zoning just met for the first time in over a year in
There's no
like
need.
6
Yeah,
months.
they didn't,
Exactly.
well, they didn't
don't
have a quota,
a
they didn't have
need.
a quota.
Well, but if there's no, they only meet
No
if
variance.
There's no
a
variance,
need.
they don't meet.
Right.
And usually the building inspector, bless him, he's so good, he's like, hey, I'm gonna deny this, they might be coming your way. so I can prepare ahead of time that the zoning board is going to meet, because someone is gonna apply for a variance.
Well, zoning's gonna get busy hopefully the next year or so, because we need to change some zoning laws in town.
But that's
That's-
planning board.
That's planning board, that's
The
not
zoning board
I
zoning.
thought it was zoning.
Zoning is only an appeals board. So the planning board
Okay.
is the main board
But
or
we,
entity.
we still have to get some zoning changed to allow for,
Through planning though.
Through
Does
planning.
it.
so they work in cohorts.
They could be involved in
Yeah.
looking at, some towns, the
alright.
ZBA wants to get involved
So it's
in that.
more on
So-
planning than anything else, so they,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but they might get busy, might need to get busy, cause we need to change some rules in this town.
I hope it does. I hope it
We need to start,
I'm hearing a lot of reasons why this won't work. I'm not hearing suggestions about something different that will work.
So,
And if there's no other suggestions about what will work, I think we gotta trust the people closest to it and give them the opportunity to make this plan work.
Is there room for another, like somebody just to take minutes?
Could we,
Or
we
something.
put in the form of a motion, let's see where the board is in this. Cause we could discuss this forever, it's not gonna, we haven't got alternatives,
you
but.
know what, I say run with it the way it is, once it breaks, we gotta get off the pot and fix it, right? That's the way it is.
So could I have a motion then to approve the proposed reorganization of the land use department, including the appointment of Lorraine Michaels as board clerk?
So moved.
Can I have a second? All right, then we're not ready for a motion, okay?
so another, and, you know, maybe what we do is to make sure, you know, we can, if Lorraine's up for it, what we could try, right, to KP's point, is see if we can bring her on as least as a per diem for the minutes, right? I did this years ago, I had someone, whatever the amount was, I think I used to pay them $50 for a set of minutes, so if it was minutes that took them 5 minutes, they got $50, if it was minutes for a meeting that took them 2 hours, they still got $50, whatever the amount was. So we can start alleviating a little bit of that pressure off of Tricia.
I'm not
Go from
nervous
there.
about minutes because I am utilizing tools that make them go incredibly fast.
AI.
Think about the fact that I
ChatGPT.
sent you a draft set of minutes with my select board action items 2 weeks ago.
So I guess the concern, right, I have lots of concerns about this. One of them is the reporting chain, right? How do you make this work? It seems like there's lots of chefs in the kitchen, right? Tricia reports to you directly, so that's probably the easiest one, but now you're gonna have a planner in the mix, and planners generally have other work they want people to do, so they're gonna need to delegate it to someone. And then they're gonna delegate it to Tricia or to this part-time board clerk person, right? Like, it just, it makes it very messy. I don't like messy.
Mr. Chair, can I request that respectfully pull the proposal with the request that you allow me for a 3-month period to hire Lorraine Michaels at a rate of $19 per hour to be a interim municipal assistant?
All right.
Do we have such a position, or your proposal includes the creation of said position?
Proposal,
Are you asking us to create one, for the select board to create one? Or are you just, as a temporary thing, or
this
as
is
a work
temporary,
trial?
this is a temporary thing.
A work
It's not-
trial or
Not even a
something?
trial, I'm gonna bring another proposal forward later.
So it's, in that sense, it's interim.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, he's asking for this, but we'd have to make a motion to do that.
And the person's work responsibilities would be as you propose on the back of your board clerk. So you'd be calling it a different name, but you're looking to propose by the same functionality, the board clerk position.
No, but yes. I'm not gonna play your leg. Like, absolutely. I am trying to temporarily get out of this, so to come back with another plan. But I think, can we make it another couple weeks?
I can make
Yeah.
it as long as you need me to,
Mr.
but
Chair,
don't
I-
be
Why don't-
surprised
let's
if you
table
take
this,
extra
okay?
vacation
No, I don't know,
at
Mr.
some
Chair,
point.
can I respectfully ask that you allow me to pull the proposal?
Okay. And that doesn't require a motion, right?
No, it
So,
is.
so moved, so we will move on then.
Well, can I just say, we're just trying to protect our staff, right? We don't wanna burn them out.
Yeah, she's getting burnt out regardless.
She's already burned
Yep.
out,
She's,
right?
cause the workload's on her right now.
I'm surprised how you guys know so much about Patty's feeling and what the status
Because
of
I've
her
been in her
work life
office.
is. I
Some of the
mean,
things that
see her
she's
2 or
told me
3
that has
times a
gone
week,
on is
so.
ridiculous. And this is like behind the scenes stuff that I sit in these offices all the time, I see this. And I
well,
hear
she
what happens.
reports to someone other than you, and, you know, if he had concerns, I'm sure he would raise those issues.
And sometimes it needs to be said by somebody else though,
Oh,
so.
okay.
All right, we've finished on that for the time being, so let's move on. New business, the cloud-based phone proposal. Nate?
Do you want me to, do you
He's
want me
been
to?
So my only question on this, and
Okay.
I already asked Nate earlier, and he believes it's probably okay, is just making sure we have a strong enough internet connection
Yep.
for it at all the locations we're gonna install it. Would that include install for, the library as well?
Yep,
Yep.
Okay, so we'd be able to get everyone on the same system?
everyone would be on the same system. There's actually one more line at the fire department because the fire chief said it would be beneficial to get an additional line over there.
Okay.
Is the commercial internet better than the residential internet? Do you guys pay for commercial, or are you just getting the residential internet?
No, we have
No, it's commercial internet,
But it's not fiber.
just not,
We don't have
We don't
fiber.
have fiber availability in the town.
Hopefully soon, though, if we get going on that.
Yeah, hopefully, they,
That meeting is on
all right.
September 11th.
The only reason I say is 'cause mine
But,
every
yeah,
day
that's,
goes like this.
circle of death.
Yep, and if you go, you know, if you're trying to store something in the cloud and it's going like this, it's not storing it in the cloud, and if something goes down while it's doing this, you lose it.
I have to trust that CM Geeks, when they do their strength tests,
Okay,
would.
That's all I need to hear.
Would know, cause I've
I'm good.
I nerded out when I got my gig speed internet at the house.
Okay.
And brought my tester in here too, and it
How fast did they go?
was just as good as my house.
Okay,
Hmm?
alright.
So how
Because
they,
when the new lines were put in a few years ago, that's when the internet changed.
so Nate, just make sure I understand, so I believe what TPX usually does is they charge you for people's upgraded phones over the course of several years, so it's
Yep.
a 60-month contract. And includes the monthly reoccurring costs, that includes the essentially lease to own of that phone
Yes.
for that period of time.
It's
And
a,
then,
it's a 5-year lease, then we own it, then it will go down to $16 a month instead of the 20.
then it breaks.
and then it adds the soft phone onto your computer.
Yep.
So like I have my computer at home and I'm not working today cause it's snowing.
You
Peter
can-
calls into the
Let's
office
go
and I
into your
just answer on the
computer.
computer, you don't even know.
Oh, I love it.
There's an application, also in the case of a pandemic or a major snowstorm or an outage, you could just unplug the phone, and if you plug it into the back of a router with internet connectivity, you're working like you're working from the office.
You can also, it's also more versatile because say we're here and then all of a sudden we're in 68 or 48 and then let's say that we're switching offices, they just pick up their phones and replug them in.
The other option that I think is great, and Nate talked about it a little bit, the app will be beneficial to people like the inspectors here in town, because as
They
of
can do
right
it right on
now,
their
they
phone.
call from a blocked number because they use their personal cell phones. This way they will call from a town number and people are more likely to pick up and answer him. And his messages will go straight to his personal
You
cell phone.
mean he'll have an app registered in his name on
No,
his
it'll
phone?
be Hubbardston Building Commissioner.
Oh, okay.
So when it rings,
Okay.
we'll give him a line and we can separate
Alright,
it from Nancy's
excellent.
line,
See,
so
I'm not
that
very
it'll,
tech
when
savvy,
he's
so
on,
I love it.
he'll click his button and then.
Yeah, cause you're not gonna pick up a phone that says blocked.
No.
It's gonna go to voicemail.
Excellent.
Additionally, and this is something I brought up before, I answered another phone call from our friend because we don't have caller ID.
I want caller ID, please.
It's
It's an extra charge.
Oh.
it's challenging.
But you get it with the TPX.
Correct.
Yeah, and you have to talk to people you don't want to talk.
No, I want to talk to everyone except for people that are legally involved with the town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so you're looking for a.
A motion to authorize the town administrator to proceed with the implementation of the cloud-based phone system as proposed.
So moved.
Second.
We would need to give Verizon I believe they said 60-day window to deal with all of that, and then we would transfer over. I think it would be between 60 and 90 days from soup to nuts.
I think usually TPX grabs that and rolls. Or your provider you're using in between TPX.
Alright, motion made in second. Any further discussion or questions?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carried. Alright, excuse me, we go to old business now, cable access policy.
So I don't.
Basically, we're just gonna table both of
Yes,
these items.
Mr. Chair, can I respectfully request more time on both of the
Yes.
old business items?
Do we have hard copies of those yet, or we're working on those?
I'll bring you hard copies of all of the bills next time.
Well, cause
It's
I
gonna be a
remember,
stack this thick,
I-
you'd kill like 12 trees.
well, I only need them right, like the meeting before, so, you know, if we know which ones are coming up, I can get them 2 weeks or what have you ahead of
Do
time.
you need me to do door to door
ahead.
delivery? Cause I literally have to
I-
pass your street on my way home every day.
Well, that works too, Tricia, you know, if you wanna do that, by all means, but no need to, I can always come get them.
Okay, so those are tabled, so
Yeah.
we'll move on to administrative matters.
Would that be helpful to anyone else while we go through this policy review period? Would anyone else like a hard copy printed out? I have no problem printing out things for the select board as long as they're going to utilize them, pick them up, and it's not a 200-page document.
Yeah.
I would like that, what I talked about earlier, the, accepting, private drives.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
I want, okay,
Yep, that's on tonight's agenda.
so I'd like that printed, please.
Yes, sir.
It's only one page.
Yep.
Which one is it? It's the.
Okay. So we're ready to move on? The authorization request, item A, 48 Gardner Road. Nate, if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is me seeking the authorization to enter into contract with New Kappa City Construction, the company that made a bid for the roof, siding, and windows project at 48 Gardner Road. I had previously misspoken about the gutters and doors. I am working with them on getting a quote for that. The town council has noted that in their opinion, we would be able to accept a change order to add those to this specific project, as long as it does not equal more than 25% of the project scope, which from my understanding, it should not.
I would hope.
Yeah.
If, when gutters and doors do 25% of roof and siding and yeah, no. That'd be like ridiculous.
Yeah, and I checked all of their references, they had 5 different communities, mostly housing authorities, because they have a lot of buildings, and this was at first a window company, and then, I checked a roofing, recommendation as well, everyone had nothing but great things to say.
Quick question, Nate, I didn't notice this before, on the cost and labor, so page 17 of the bid docs, cost of labor and materials, price bid 402, total cost project 472, what'd I miss?
The total cost is 472, I can figure out what exactly they meant by that, cause I called him up as well and didn't even tell him what I was looking at, I said, hey, what's the final cost? And he said 472.
Well, so,
Is that the money he puts down to bid? Does he put down a percentage? Does
well,
that make it to that amount?
no,
Okay.
the two numbers don't mesh.
Mhm.
So was he thinking that the 472 included the other pieces, the doors and the gutters, or was he,
No.
but I don't, okay.
So labor
So
and
usually,
materials.
so I guess that's I didn't notice that before, so that's my only concern, right, is there's two numbers here that are conflicting.
Yes.
And that usually that's why we have people write a number and spell out a number, so if one conflicts, the bid docs always say it's the words that govern.
Does that sentence above that explain it? Cost
there.
of project, labor and materials.
And then total.
In parentheses, then it says plus cost of one sheet of plywood include, and then in parentheses it says include labor/materials equals total project cost. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Is that where that?
I
an
don't-
An extra sheet of plywood for the whole roof on each side would make up that difference between 402 and 472?
Not $72,000 worth of.
Well, you don't know how much plywood is a sheet,
Plywood.
yes, it.
You think that's
Oh, I
you
bet
think
it-
that's what happened there, is
I
the
do.
calculation? I'm guessing, Nate, I'm guessing you didn't see that sentence there and it was left from a former draft, unless you meant to leave that there.
I know a few years ago to reapply one roof on my main building was
So-
$10,000.
That's the explanation right there, cause it's cost of project, labor and materials, in parentheses. And then if you go down the bottom, item 1, cost of labor and materials, 402. And then it says plus, cost of one sheet of plywood, in parentheses, include labor/materials equals total project. You drop down below labor and materials, it says total project, 472.
Total project is 472.
Right.
I think we just need clarification.
So the
I will
402,
get
I
that.
think,
I will-
includes your sheet of your
Most
plywood.
likely, yeah, plywood plus labor to put it on, cause you're paying prevailing wage. I didn't pay prevailing wage.
Probably.
No?
Yeah, you're talking $30 a sheet of plywood.
Yeah, plywood, yeah, wood's
For-
still expensive.
And how many square feet on that roof?
There's a lot.
Are you
'cause get
suggesting we
the two
need
sides.
$70,000 worth of plywood?
Well, with labor,
Labor and plywood?
Labor and
I would
plywood.
cause
say
you're paying
yes.
prevailing wage, yeah.
And that was my justification of it when I called and didn't ask them any questions. He said 472. I was thinking that was the amount of the goods, and then plus labor in that plywood is the 472. I will clarify.
yeah.
Why are
one
we,
last-
how do we know we need to replace all the plywood?
So I think it's possible that Nate just left that sentence in there from the draft documents he may have received. Cause sometimes.
So we need clarity on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cause we don't know if we have to replace all the plywood might be.
Cause
fine.
sometimes that line's added in there and it literally means one sheet of plywood and all the difference is to see if you have to calculate it out and you, to compare apples to apples between your bid and Katie's bid, it's the one number difference. So,
yeah.
but yeah, but I think, if everything else is in play, I think we can always authorize Nate for the higher, not to exceed the higher number
Yep.
on the contract, so we keep moving, but my only question is, so we're all set now with the property, everything is finished, we're closed?
No, we close on the 20th.
Okay, so I don't think we can award this till after the 20th, cause if we award this
Just in case.
before the 20th, and then for some reason
Gets
something
extended.
happens,
Now you're not
we've
honoring
now
it.
awarded a contract on a building we don't own.
And we can't honor it, so now you get,
What's our timeline? I think we're still within, what did we say, keeping the bids open for 30 days? And what's the date of this? It looks like
14th.
the 13th. So, and it's the 20th. I mean, we can get in writing, maybe we can give them a preliminary offer contingent upon successful closing.
He already has that, and it is contingent upon successful closing. He has his
Okay.
his award notice.
Okay, so
Okay.
then that gives us time for you to clarify that, to see where, make sure that paying for all this new plywood, and are we sure we need it?
There's a good chance that the person that sent me this, because when I was putting all of these together, I did so in one day's period.
Yeah, it was very
So
tight.
there is a very good chance that another town administrator gave me an example that she or they had used.
Mhm.
And in that project, there may have been a plywood.
Mhm.
And so I'm gonna figure it out, but I do believe that the project is $472,000 even.
How did we decide on new Kappa construction? How many bids did we get?
Second. Yeah, they were the only,
Six.
they were the only company that bid comprehensively. I believe we got 2 for windows, 3 for roof, and 2 for siding.
That's correct.
And then in the addendum to the bid packet, I noted that it was preferred that they sent in a collective packet And in that packet, they could do optional. And then when new Kappa's employee came here, he said it was all inclusive, which ended up not being true once I was talking to Dad.
So, why did so are you saying we chose New Kappa Construction because they're the only one that bid all-inclusively on the project?
No, we're choosing new Kappa Construction because they were the lowest reasonable and responsible bidder. All other bids added up together equaled more than that of New Kappa Construction's comprehensive bid.
Okay. So that's kind of a red flag, right? To me anyways. So we gotta make sure we vetted them, and I saw a lot of their recommendations and whatnot. Do we have any information about warranty work that they have done?
Yes, it's all in your packet.
Well, I saw warranties from the companies that are manufacturing the products, but I mean, do we have testimonials from former customers of theirs about how they do their warranty work? Because your roof isn't gonna last 30 years and your siding isn't gonna last 30 years. You know, and you're gonna try to get those manufacturers' warranties, so we gotta make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's. But then we also have to think about labor. Is New Kappa gonna come back and fix our roof, or are they just tail light warranty, see you later?
I do not have the answer to that question right here for you.
Well, I think we need some history or some feedback about how they, as the installers, warranty their portion of the work.
So I think it's included in the procurement docs themselves, which are incorporated into the contract by reference perhaps. And in the contract, it also usually, I don't know if I have it in front of me, it also usually spells out the warranty for the work. But I don't think I have a copy of that. Apparently I have two of these.
500 pages deep.
Huh?
500 pages deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But no, those are the leases. I don't have a copy of that. Nate, are we good for waiting for till the next meeting to get this vetted, or do you feel like the contractor's gonna be chomping at the bit? I mean, we can't
They
theoretically.
know they can't get in there until after the 20th, cause he wanted to go there next week to do some measurements. I told them that I would feel more comfortable if we just waited until the building was
Ours.
the town's and then started over there. They're
So that's the 20th, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a meeting on the 16th. You can,
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
And then you just need to check the bid and make sure if it does say 30 days, just get him to extend the offer through the 20th, just to cover us. And then that gives us time to ask those questions, KP.
I like it.
I mean, it lists warranty here, but it doesn't say anything about the warranty. Section 4. It says-
Section 4 on what?
It says, please attach a copy of the manufacturer's warrant
Oh.
with this bid form. And
Yeah.
But in section 4 it says warranty, but under here it says warrant.
Search for another warranty line.
Yeah.
So that should just be on the product. I don't know which of the bid docs. It
Yeah, I
sounds
don't
like
see
there
it,
might be
I don't
more.
even see it on a product, cause it goes right to qualifications and references, unless it's at the bottom. We can move along, I guess, if we have to, but,
Should be up in the information section, much higher up.
yeah, I just.
So we putting this off until the next meeting?
Yes,
or-
please.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Well, here's what I can tell you, and here's why I'm concerned, and it's not a showstopper, but I just wanna make sure we have all our documents and all our ducks in a row, right? Your roof and your siding is gonna fail before whatever the manufacturer's warranty said. Then you're gonna have to jump through hoops, to get the manufacturer to give you replacement product. And they're gonna take that replacement product and they're gonna drop it in your parking lot, and you're probably gonna have to pay for the shipping. Then we gotta find somebody to take off the stuff that's failed and put off the new stuff that needs to go up. So, you know, if we get to that point, is New Kappa Construction gonna warranty their work, and if so, for how long, to come back and put that new product on for us?
Well, explain warranty their work, because their warranty for their work is, was it installed properly? That's what their warranty
Right.
for their work means, right?
Right.
So,
Workmanship.
I think is when it comes to a product failing, that's not their fault, but if it is their fault, they have to cover it.
Right, but the battle's gonna be,
Getting
the
them back.
manufacturer's gonna say it's their fault, and New Capa's gonna
And
say
then
it's the
you, and
manufacturer
then you're
failed.
stuck with a bit cracking or leaks or whatever, and
So I think we just wanna know upfront,
Yeah.
what kind of history, if we can find any, about how New Capa handles that, should the event arise.
The word warranty is in this document 279 times, one second.
It says, how long are you covered?
No,
That's
that's,
what's up
that's
on-
for the
oh.
product, you need to go up, it would be in
No.
the actual bidding docs themselves. Right after the table of contents section. It's usually spelled
see, like,
out.
so for like Windows, if they're showing a Harvey's warranty here,
Mm-hmm.
lifetime warranty,
Mm-hmm.
but somewhere it might say something about commercial building. I haven't got into that yet, but you know what I'm saying? You gotta read the small print.
Yeah, but that one's on the product, I think KP's question is the install itself, what's our
Well,
warranty?
right, getting
information?
installer, but, I mean, an installer, he's not honoring the product warranty. The company who makes the products are honoring the product warranty. Now you gotta go to somebody to replace the product. They're not gonna warranty replacing the product for free, because their warranty is installation properly. That's what the builder's warranty is, or the contract.
Besides guarantees required elsewhere, contractor shall and hereby does guarantee all work for a period of 1 year after date of acceptance of the work
So
by
that's
the
it.
town.
You're on your own
The
after a
contractor
year.
shall repair or replace any and or all such work together with any other work which may be displaced in doing so, that may provide defective in workmanship and / or materials within a 1 year period from date of acceptance without expense whatsoever to the town.
So you're
Ordinary wear and
you're
tear,
paying.
unusual abuse or neglect expected. The town will give notice of observed defects with reasonable promptness. Contractor shall notify the town upon completion of repairs. In the event of failure of contractor to comply with the above mentioned conditions within 1 week after being notified in writing, the town is hereby authorized to proceed to have defects repaired and made good at the expense of the contractor. Contractor hereby agrees to pay costs and charges therefore immediately upon demand.
For 1
So you
year.
got 1 year workmanship, so if something didn't go
Yeah.
well, we should have observed it before, during, or had our building inspector make sure he caught it as best he can. And you're not gonna catch everything.
Right. Then you gotta figure out if the product supplier will cover the federal wage to get it installed, right? That's what you gotta deal with next, so.
No, I think at that point, we just say, you have to fix it, and we go to
Yeah.
court if we have to
Yeah.
get them to do so, but it's a standard lingo.
Yeah, it's standard language, years your standard warranty, and you know, the only thing that's gonna fail in a year is a bad installation.
Exactly, that's
Right.
what that's
So-
covering, a bad
Right.
install.
So if you put new shingles on, they all slide off.
That's a bad install.
That's,
That's a really bad install.
check your nail gun.
Yeah. Something's wrong.
Yeah, alright.
You okay with that, Keith?
Nope.
Answering the question? Did it answer your question though?
Mhm.
Okay.
You still need some background check on the guy's warranty work, right?
I'd like to see some.
Yeah,
Get it.
I hear ya, I mean,
So I think maybe a question we could ask the people who've done the work in the past is if they've had to actually call and say, hey, there's been faulty install or what have you, and if they have had to do that, what the response and return time
Maybe the
is.
BBB, can we check this company through the BBB and see if they can,
Well, they have DCAM certification
They do.
for all three
Yep.
install types, and that's not easy to get,
No.
that's through the state. It's the something certification, something, I can't
Capital
tell you.
asset management.
Thank you. So,
Something, something.
they already have the highest certification they can through the state, which means the state has vetted them. In their work. I
So
mean, the
it's-
work they've done on these things, it doesn't look like any of them said roof. I saw door and storm door replacement, window storefront entry doors, door replacement, and window replacement, windows, doors. So I don't know if they've done roofs or if they just haven't done recent ones that they've cited.
Are there any outstanding lawsuits against New Kappa Construction? Court proceedings?
Not that I am aware of at this time. The 5 to 7 people that I have called in the 5 to 7 municipalities had nothing but sunshine and rainbowy things to say.
Okay,
That's good.
that's good.
So,
I just get
What's the
concerned
action?
I
when
mean,
one company comes in and wants to do it all soup to nuts and is, you know, the lowest price.
It wasn't by much.
Okay.
And please remember that procurement puts a heavy emphasis on lowest responsible bidder.
That's why you get
So here's.
such awesome work.
So in order to be,
Always.
in order to be DCAM certified, you have to meet the following criteria. So there's small prime or there's prime, I think ours would probably be prime here. At least 1 year in business, have 5 completed projects, each with a dollar value of $80K or more for each category of work selected. So in order for him to get DCAM certified in roofing, he had to have completed a roofing project for that. The complete project must be within the last 5 years. Project evaluations must have a passing score of 80 or above. So once you complete a project that's a large enough dollar amount, the town has an obligation to go in and actually provide a rating back to the state of how the vendor did. And then there's a couple other variations
So
of
what's
this,
their
but that's
rating?
in general. It has to have been 80 or
80 or
above. I don't know if they disclose that, I've never asked that question.
which is a B, right?
Well, yeah, but everyone's different grader.
Well, right.
You and I are gonna grade the project totally different.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna get an F and you're gonna get an A.
okay,
Exactly.
we need to move on because we still have an executive session here, so what are we gonna do with this particular item?
I think I would recommend that we table it until the next meeting. Take a motion in that manner. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table this matter until the next meeting.
Second.
Table the,
48 Gardner Road award of contractor work.
alright, and it was second?
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions on this? Nate, do you need anything to say? Alright, and all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, opposed, abstained, and then this is tabled. Was that for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be this.
Well, it's gotta be,
We
right?
either do it
Because-
at the next meeting
Yeah.
or
Right,
We're screwed.
cause that's,
Yeah.
we close on the 20th, so the meeting is the 16th, right?
Yep.
Okay, alright,
So we can only approve them, but we can't award them.
I think we can approve and make, at the next meeting, approve and make the award contingent upon the successful closing on the
Closing,
20th,
okay.
with the date of the award being the day after.
Thank you.
okay.
Unless we find something, you know, that makes us not so comfortable to award.
And there's
Which
a
I
good
hope we don't.
there's a good chance that I'm coming back with a higher number, because I'd rather tuck it all in there than,
With the gutters and, yeah.
Yeah, cause we can't,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
we can't do this on the 16th and
Yeah.
we've gotta be able to take action, so, alright.
my apologies, I did put a lot at you guys today during a long couple of weeks, so
That's okay,
some things.
We'll chug along, we'll just
Don't
keep
worry.
postponing.
You're chugging along, we're chugging along, we're all gonna chug along together.
okay, next item, lease transfer authorization for the vet clinic. Nate?
I respectfully ask that everyone just be aware of how they discuss this, just because I don't want this to become about any certain individuals or businesses. This is about if the town is interested in entering into in allowing Dr. Morano to exchange her lease currently